Hello students. You might have often heard people say that that girl resembles her father and the boy has got the same eyes of the mother. Isn't it? Puppies look the same as the dogs. Kittens look similar to the cats. That means something has been passed from the parent to the offspring. I think you might have guessed the topic of today. We are going to learn about reproduction. Of course, you have learned about in lower classes. You have learned about asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. You have learned about the structure of the flower, etc. But today, we are going to learn its cellular level, what is happening in the cellular level and why the characteristics are inherited from the parents to the offspring. So, when you look into the cell, you already have learned this in 9th standard. The controlling unit is called as a nucleus. Okay, and something very important is present inside the nucleus, and that is the chromosomes. The chromosomes, also called chromatin. So it is these chromosomes which are responsible for the characteristics of an organism. That you can understand why the nucleus is so important, and it controls all the activities in the cell. So the nucleus, of course, is having this important structure, that is a chromosome, which is called as a genetic material. So with great power comes great responsibility, isn't it? So we are going to learn what is this actually, this genetic material, and how is it passed from the parent to the offspring. Okay, so here is a nucleus. The nucleus has a nuclear membrane. It has pores here, and inside the important structure which is called as a chromatin. The chromatin, sometimes, that is during cell division, it condenses to form the chromosomes. That is a chromatin, and the chromosomes are similar. And this nuclear membrane doesn't allow the chromosomes to go out. It is having the entire information for all the activities which will take place inside the cell, that is in the cytoplasm. So this pores, that is the nuclear pores, help in communication of this nucleus or this genetic material with the organelles outside. Okay. You know, this is called as the human karyotype. Children, every cell of our body, inside the nucleus, we have 46 chromosomes. That is, in human being, we have 46 chromosomes. If you are arranging it in this way, it's called as a human karyotype. So this is considered as one cell, human cell, and you can see the number 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. You have 45 and 46 chromosomes. But it is all arranged in pairs. That is, 46 chromosomes is equal to 23 pairs. This is the first pair, second pair, third pair, so on. You have 23 pairs of chromosomes. This is the karyotype of the male, and this is the karyotype of the female. This is present in each and every cell of our body. This is present in the male and this is in the females. Okay. Now, if you observe this here, children, this pairs of chromosomes, that is a 22 pairs of chromosomes in both male and female is same, and they are called as the autosomes. Okay, that is 22 pairs or 44 autosomes. And the last pair which is highlighted here, children, can you see? This last pair, that is a 45 and 46th chromosome, or the 23rd pair, is made up of, in male it is X and Y, and in female it is XX. Only this last pair is different. Why is it like that? Listen, why it is like that. In every chromosome you have genes arranged, and the genes are responsible for characteristics. So this last chromosome, which is called as a sex chromosome, has genes to control the development of ovaries or testes. So if this is a karyotype, the male karyotype X and Y, it has the genes to control the development of testes. So the males have 44 autosomes plus XY. Whereas in females, the last pair of chromosomes is XX. It has the genes to control the development of ovaries. So the genetic makeup of a female human cell is 44 autosomes plus XX sex chromosomes. Okay, as I told you before, these are arranged in pairs. Why it is pairs? Actually, these pairs are called homologous chromosome. Remember, homologous chromosome. Homo means same. So why it is called the same type of chromosome? Because both of them have the same genes which are controlling the characteristic. For example, this first chromosome and second chromosome is paired because the gene, maybe this is the first gene of this chromosome and the first gene of this chromosome. They both may be responsible for controlling the height of an organism. Now if you take this second pair, why it is paired? The first gene of this chromosome and first gene, it may be responsible for the eye color. Understood? So you cannot pair this and this. Now you understand why it is paired. And every characteristic is controlled by two genes, not one gene. And one chromosome is contributed by the father and one chromosome is contributed by the mother. So that same type of chromosomes can be paired. That is why it is called as homologous chromosomes, and that is why we call it as 22 pairs. Is it clear? Okay, just to make it more clear, this is a homologous chromosome, you can see. One is obtained from the father, one from the mother. You can see these two genes, both of them are responsible for temperature regulation. You can see this gene, it may be responsible for the eye color, okay, and so on. Okay, here you can see gene A, okay, gene B, that is these two are the genes of homologous chromosomes, gene C and so on. So these are the two genes which are responsible for a trait or a characteristic, and they are called as alleles. You will be learning about it in the next lesson. Alleles are the different forms of the same gene. Clear? Here also, see, from mom you have got small a, from dad you have got capital A. Maybe both of them are responsible for the height of the offspring. So together they will control the characteristic. Clear? So capital B and small b. So this is for another characteristic. And so on. So every chromosome will be having lot of genes arranged in them. See, for example, here this is a karyotype and I have shown the first chromosome. This is the first chromosome. If you enlarge it, it will be like this. This has been possible because of developments in genetic engineering, children. So there are around 2000 genes in the first chromosome. You know, the first chromosome is the largest chromosome. It's the biggest chromosome with largest number of genes. Okay, so it has around 2000 genes. And if you take this X chromosome, that is the last one, it has 804 genes. And the Y chromosome has only 63 genes. So these chromosomes have genes arranged in them. Now what is this gene? Again we need to know what is that, what is it made up of? It is actually DNA. So gene is just DNA. Okay. If you see this here, see DNA structure. Okay. So if you go inside the cell, you can see the chromosomes. The chromosomes, if you enlarge, it will look like this. Again enlarge the chromosome, you will get a long DNA strand. One segment of this gene, one segment of the DNA will be one gene. Another segment will be the next gene. Another segment will be the third gene, so on. So in the first chromosome you have more than 1000 genes. It's a long strand of DNA and every segment is considered as a gene. Actually it is an information inside the cell to control the characteristics. I know it's not very clear to you. Again I'll explain to you what will happen. Okay, suppose this is considered the cell, inside the cell, okay. You can see the nucleus, the most important part of the cell, controlling center, and inside the cell, which is an important part there, you have the chromosomes, okay. And as I told you, the chromosomes cannot go out, okay. It has to send message out. Where it has to send message, children? It has to send message to the ribosomes. You know what is ribosomes doing? You know what is the function of ribosome? Protein synthesis. Protein synthesis is a very important part of the functions inside the cell. Okay, so these ribosomes are making different proteins. And proteins, why proteins? Because proteins are enzymes or hormones. So here inside the cell there are a lot of chemical reactions going on. Lot of biochemical reactions going on. For every biochemical reaction you require an enzyme. And what is the composition of enzyme? It is a protein. But if the ribosome has to make protein, it has to get information from inside the nucleus. That is, the DNA which is having the information, it cannot go out. So it will send a message to the ribosome in the form of messenger RNA, and when the information goes to the ribosome, it will make specific proteins. Okay, so our DNA controls everything that's happening in our body. That is, in the cellular level, it will control the protein synthesis. So when the proteins are made, they actually control characteristics. How? because the proteins are helping in the form of enzymes, hormones, pigments, etc. Okay, now again to make it clear what's happening, see. Okay, this is one DNA, one gene I have told you. I told you what is a gene. It's a segment of DNA, one segment of DNA you can see. Okay, it cannot come out. This is a ribosome. Sorry, this is a ribosome, yes. It cannot come out. So it is sending a messenger. That is called mRNA. So this messenger comes out of this spore. It will attach to the this ribosome, and as per the information given, that type of protein will be made. And protein means it is enzymes. Okay, so make it clear, see DNA, it is converted into messenger RNA. It will come out of the nucleus and it will come and join in it will combine with the ribosomes to make a specific protein. What are proteins there? Enzymes or hormones. And these enzymes or hormones in our body are responsible for the entire development or organization or triads, as we say. Okay. So DNA is, of course, it's gene. What is DNA? It's all homologous. It is DNA and genes are the same. It's called the blueprint of life, because the DNA which we are having, that will determine our organization, how we look, how we behave, what is our intelligence. Every triad is depending upon the DNA. So that is why the DNA is called as a blueprint of life. Okay. So DNA controls the characteristics. Just to make it more clear, how does it control characteristics? With an example I am going to explain. That will make it very clear to you children. Okay. Suppose there is a gene. We are talking about here a tall plant. Some plants have become tall, some it is short. See, this is actually applicable for the human beings also. Some people are tall, some people are short. Why is it like that? We always say it is because uska genes aise hai. Okay, now how is the genes controlling that? Genes for tallness, they have it inside the cell, inside the nucleus. Now from the nucleus, the information will go in the form of mRNA to the protein, to the ribosome. So the ribosome will make an efficient protein. Why? Because the genes is for tallness. So when efficient protein is made, what are proteins? They are functioning as enzymes. They are efficient enzymes. And an efficient enzyme will help in more biochemical reactions. Lot of reactions will take place, and due to which more growth hormones are produced. And more growth hormones will result in the tallness of the plant. So that is how the genes are controlling the height of the plant. Okay. Now what about the dwarf plant? Or it can be a dwarf person. So that person has got, or a plant has got gene for dwarfness. So that message goes to the ribosome. The ribosome will make a protein which is not very efficient. Okay. So that protein is also not very efficient enzyme. So what will happen to that chemical reactions? That also won't be very efficient. So the growth hormone will be less. So since the growth hormone is less, of course the plant will become short or the person becomes short. So that is why all the characteristics are controlled by the genes present inside our nucleus. And it is this one which is passed to the offspring. And that is why we say that the child resembles the parents or the grandparents. Is it clear now, children? Now you understood why the DNA of genes is called the blueprint of life. The blueprint is the complete set of chromosomes we have inside our cell. And that is why we look like this, why we behave like this. Even the functioning of your organ systems all depend upon different genes. Clear? Okay. Now coming to the second topic, that is, we have two types of cells in our body. Just look at this picture, children. This is a picture of a plant. You know what are the parts of the plant? We have stem, root, leaf, fruit. And in the later stage, we have the reproductive part, that is the flower. Reproductive part, the flower, where you have stamens, etc. Okay. So we have this part is called as a vegetative part. Okay. So they are all made up of vegetative cells. Similarly, in human beings, the cells of the leg, face, muscle, stomach, eyes, all the normal cells are called as vegetative cells. So both plants or animals, we have vegetative cells in our body. And we have another type of cells which is called as reproductive or germ cells. The word is it's self-explanatory, reproductive or germ cells. They will be present in the ovary or the testes, or ovary or testes in the human beings. In case of flower, inside the ovary, you have the male, inside the ovary you have the female gamete, and in the stamen, inside the anther, you have the male gamete. So that is a reproductive or germ cells. So if you consider two types of cells in our body, we have two types, that is vegetative and somatic cells. Vegetative cells are also called somatic cells, and in the second part of its life cycle, they will develop the reproductive organs, and in the reproductive organs, that is ovaries or testes, or in the case of plants, it can be the anther or the ovary, you have the male and female gametes. Clear? So there's a difference between this vegetative cells and the germ cells. Okay, vegetative or the somatic cells have 46 chromosomes, we have seen the human karyotype, but when it comes to the gametes, it has just the half. Okay, look at this. This is a vegetative or the somatic cells. We have 46 chromosomes. See, homologous chromosomes are arranged. But if you see the gametes, they have only one, that is just the half of it. So 46 chromosomes, it's called as diploid number, and the gametes are having just half, it's called haploid. Okay, so the somatic cells are the all other cells which is present in the body other than the ova and the sperm. That is, the ova and the sperm has just the half the number of chromosomes. You can understand why, because when the sperm and the ovum fuse together, 46 chromosomes will be there in the offspring. If this was already 46, if the sperm also had 46 and the egg also had 46, what would have happened? Then 92 chromosomes in the offspring, it will not look like a human being. So in order to maintain the chromosome number of the species in sexual reproduction, gametes are formed only in sexual reproduction, there is special division which is occurring. Okay, so you now remember what I mean by diploid, that is 46 chromosomes, and what is haploid, it is 23 chromosomes, and haploid cells are present only in the ovaries and testes and the reproductive organs of flowers. Okay, okay, so in human beings, you can see these are entire somatic cells, but as they grow, as the reproductive organs mature, the male starts producing sperm, but that is only having haploid number 23 chromosome. The female reproductive organs produce egg with the 23 chromosomes. They both fuse together to form the zygote, 46, and then it will again divide and the growth of the organism. Now, how does the growth of the organism happen here? How is it reduced? How are the gametes produced by just reducing the number of chromosomes? It is only because of special type of cell divisions. So now we'll be just going through in a short, just a short span of this one. Cell division we'll be learning. We need not go into detail. Cell division, from the word you can understand, one cell dividing into two. Every year when you go for medical checkup, you can see your increase in height, you can see your increase in weight. Number of cells have increased. Okay, so that is only because of cell division. Okay, so there are two types of cell division, mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis happens in somatic cells. How did you grow so much? Because your somatic cells went on dividing. Okay, and when you get a wound on your finger or something like that, within few days it will be healed and new cells have formed. All these are because of mitosis. Meiosis happens only in the reproductive organs and in sexual reproducing organisms, because in gamete formation you need only half the number of chromosomes in it. So what are the two types of cell division? Mitosis and meiosis. So mitosis, see where and all mitosis takes place? When a child is growing into a adult, that number of cells increased, that is mitosis. See, metamorphosis happens, this is also mitosis. Growth of the plant here also, then healing of wounds, and in asexual reproduction also, it's only mitosis happens. Okay, meiosis happens only in the reproductive organs, that is in sexually reproducing organs. Why? The gametes should have only half the number. So by this time you might have understood what is the significance of meiosis. Meiosis is helping in reducing the number of chromosome to half. In mitosis, it is not reducing the number. It is the exact chromosome number will be maintained in the daughter cells when they divide. Okay, so in mitosis you can see there are 4 chromosomes in this cell. Okay, and the daughter cells, you see, they also have the 4 chromosomes. That is, it is having the same copy paste. The same thing is copy pasted into it. But in meiosis, after meiosis, you will get 4 daughter cells. This is happening in ovaries and testes. You get 4 ova or 4 sperms. And here you can see in the parent cell there were 4 chromosomes. But what about in the daughter cells? Just reduced to half. So it has only 2 chromosomes. So in human beings, if this is the testis, the cells inside the testis, it is undergoing meiosis. It will produce 4 sperms. So this cell will be having 46 chromosomes, but the cell after undergoing meiosis will have only 23 chromosomes. This may be considered as a 4 sperms having only half the chromosome number. Okay, and it takes place only in sexually reproducing organisms. Okay, see why in mitosis, how is it possible that the daughter cells are getting the same number? See, if a man, suppose a man has 2 children, it's a small story like thing. A man has 2 children and he may have around 100 acres of land. So he wants to give that to both the children. But he wants it in such a way that both of them get 100. So it's not possible. When he distributes, it will become 50-50 now. So maybe he has some magic, what he wished for. It was possible. He had wished that both the children will get 100, and with some magic he was supposed to do. What he did, that 100 acres got duplicated and became 200 acres. Okay, if the 100 acres became duplicated, of course both the children will get 100. So his wish has come true. So this is what happens in mitosis. Before getting divided, all that thing, genetic material is just double, and so both the daughters or both the daughter cells will get equal number. See, this is one homologous chromosome I have shown you. Suppose it's a first homologous chromosome. See, first and second, that is the first pair. Just before dividing, it has replicated. It has made a copy of it. See, it has replicated, and during cell division, this will just divide like this. 1/2 will go here, 1/2 will go there. So that is why in mitosis, the daughter cells will get the same number of chromosomes. Okay, this is mitosis shown. This is not there in your syllabus, but just for you to understand. See, this just before, these are showing the mitosis stages. But just before the mitosis starts, as the father wants the children to get entire property properly done. So it's not only inside the nucleus, all the cytoplasm, everything should be divided equally. Okay, so just before the mitosis starts, there's a phase called interphase, where inside all the cell organelles, they will double, the cytoplasm will double, because now it has to get distributed into the 2 daughters. So that is called the interphase. And as the mitosis starts, you can see each chromosome has become duplicated. Each and every chromosome has become duplicated. You can see it has become double. Okay, because the father wants the 2 daughters to get equal number. Okay, as after prophase, this is called as a prophase stage. Just after that, this nuclear membrane will also disappear, and now these chromosomes, they'll start arranging in the equator. See here, and that is called the metaphase stage. Just after that, they will be pulled to 2 parts. These are called centrioles. Okay, they are pulled to the opposite poles. You can see, after duplication, see what happens. It is going, 1/2 is going here, 1/2 is going to the other side. Okay. After that, after they reach here, the end of these cells, then cytoplasm will also divide. So whatever was present in the parent cell, the same quantity the daughter cells have got. And the chromosomes were copy pasted as such without any change. So in our somatic cells of our body, when the cell division occurs, it's just copy pasted. The entire chromosomes are copy pasted into the daughter cells. Just after this, again interphase will start, because it has to prepare for the next cell division. So again the cytoplasm is becoming double, chromosomes become double, or the prophase stage, it becomes duplicated. Then they'll all start arranging in the middle. They gets pulled towards the poles. After getting pulled towards the pole, nuclear membrane will appear, and now 2 daughter cells. So this is a mitosis process which occurs in our vegetative cells, and it is also occurring in the asexually reproducing organisms. Meiosis happens only in reproductive organs. It's a very long process. We need not go into detail at all. You just remember, children, during meiosis, if this is one cell, if this is we are considering only one homologous chromosome here, it has of course duplicated, and then before separating, it enters into the 2 daughter cells before separating. But before separating, one thing has happened. Can you observe what has happened? See, they have exchanged the genetic material. Homologous chromosomes are very fast, friends. Now they are going to get separated into two different cells. So before separating into two different cells, they are exchanging gifts so that they remember each other. Okay, see how they have exchanged their genetic material. A piece of green combined here, piece of blue combined. Exchange ho gaya. Okay, so does this chromosome and this chromosome look same? No, na. So after that again one more division occurs, that is meiosis 2, and finally after meiosis, remember only these points, after meiosis you get 4 cells with haploid number, that is half the number. And what is one more change which has occurred? You can look at this chromosome. Does it look like that, the parent cell? No, na. It has become a little bit changed. That is, the chromosomes have been, before copying, it has been edited. After copying, it got edited and pasted. So these 4 cells are having half the number with changed pattern of genes. For example, you can see this to distinguish mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis, the cell has 46 chromosomes. The daughter cells will also get 46. Is there any change? No. It's copy paste. So in asexually reproducing organisms, children, variations are very less because it is just copy pasted in asexually reproducing organisms. But in sexually reproducing organisms, since meiosis is occurring in ovaries and testes, and as a result of meiosis, there are just half the number. And before copy and pasting, it is copied, edited and pasted. So the parent cell chromosome is not same as that of the gametes. Inside the gametes, the chromosomes have become changed. So that is why the offsprings are not exactly, so you and me are not exact copy of our parents, because the gametes of our parents were having changed chromosomes in them. Clear? Okay. See here how the crossing over. This is called as crossing over. That this is one homologous chromosome, and see how they are crossing over and how that has become changed. And after this is actually considered as copy, edit and then paste. So see the changed chromosome. So this is resulting in variation in sexually reproducing organisms. In asexual reproduction, variation is very less. In sexual reproduction, variation is often seen, maybe bahut, sometimes it is very, major variations are also seen. So that results in the formation of evolution. We will be learning about it in detail in the next class. Is it clear? See, it's just for you to revise it. Okay. In mitosis happens in somatic cells. You can see this, the cell with 46 chromosome. After mitosis, you see, is there any change in the face? No. Same face, na? That is, it has become same. That this is called equational division also, because equal number of chromosomes, and it is copy pasted without any edit. Sometimes there may be error. It is not that always it is perfect, accurate. Sometimes it may be error, but mostly it is copy pasted. So in asexual reproduction, minimum variation is seen. But you can look at meiosis, children. This is the parent cell, and after meiosis, you know, we have 4 daughter cells. Do they look same? They look very different, na? Because of crossing over which occurred during meiosis. What is another major point you have to remember? 46 chromosome got reduced into 23. So this is only what you have to remember for this time. You need not go into details of cell division. So mitosis results in copy paste or the same copy paste of the chromosomes without any variation. Maybe sometimes errors may occur, but in meiosis, the reproductive organs, it happens. So in sexual reproduction, why variation is more? Because in gametes, the chromosomes have been edited. It is not the same chromosomes as that of the parent cell. Clear? Okay. The same thing in asexual reproduction example. See amoeba, hydra, sweet potato here and all. There is no much variation seen. But in sexual reproduction, since gametes are involved, meiotic division is involved, variations can be seen in the offspring. Okay. Now, just what is the importance of DNA copying in reproduction? This is one question, very important question. In your textbook it is there and it is often asked in the exam. So after listening to this, you might be able to answer. Just recall this picture, you will be able to answer. See the DNA. proteins and the body structure. What is happening? The DNA in the cell has sent a message through mRNA to the ribosomes to make that type of protein. If the enzyme is efficient, and inefficient enzyme depends upon the message from the DNA, and that is why the body structure depends upon the DNA. That is, copying of DNA helps in the transfer of information or characters from parents to offspring. It helps to generate variations. Why variations? During meiosis, and the variation leads to evolution. So what is the importance of DNA copying and reproduction? Remember these 3 points to be included in your answer. Okay? Okay, see, such a beautiful place, isn't it? It's called niche. Okay, it's called the habitat of organism. Niche means it's habitat where the organisms are living comfortably, very comfortably. Now, why these organisms are living very comfortably? Because they are able to adapt in that environment. You can see the fishes, and the small fishes are also there. When the fish reproduces, it will give rise to the same type of body structure, isn't it? Why? Because the DNA has copied. And because of the same body design, those fishes are able to adapt well. See, the birds are up in the air. It cannot live in water. But its body design is such a way, it is adapting in that area. Okay, so it has got the DNA copied from its parent. So DNA copy means that body design is also copied into the offspring, and it is helping it to live very comfortably in this environment, or the niche. It's called the niche. Okay. Now suppose if there is any change in the environment, or I told you during copy pasting, if there is an error in copy pasting, that the body design may differ a little bit. It may be fine. People may be born with 6 fingers or 11 fingers like Hrithik Roshan. That's a variation. Hrithik Roshan has 11 fingers. It's a variation in body design. But does it is it harmful for him, or is it helping him more to adapt? It's not like that. Variations may be helping it for better survival, but variations may also lead to cannot adapt. The organism may not be able to adapt in the environment. If the children are born with 2 heads and all, sometimes it's seen, they are not able to survive longer. So that's a variation which is not helping it to survive in its environment. Okay, so when DNA copying is done, and when there is a when there is some error in the DNA copying, variation happens. That variation leads to changed body design. If the body design is not suiting it in the environment, it will die. If the body design is helping it to survive in the environment, it will survive. So with an example, we can prove that. Okay. In the same niche, you see bacteria is there, fishes are there in the water. And during reproduction, DNA is copied to the offspring. And offspring gets the same body design. So the offspring can survive in that habitat comfortably. But on the other hand, if there is an error in DNA copying, it will of course lead to variation. That is a changed body design. Now if the body design is good, then it will help the organism to survive. If the body design is bad, the organism will not survive. You understood this now? Now to make it more clear with another example, if there's the changes in the environment. See, sometimes it's like all the organisms are living very comfortably in that habitat. If you are considering the same habitat in water, the water temperature suddenly rises. Okay, if a water temperature rises, so the organisms inside, many of them will die. They cannot tolerate that change in temperature. They cannot change. They cannot adopt or adapt to that environment. So those organisms, the weaker ones, will die. We'll be coming about that, learning about natural selection later on. But why this is happening, you should understand. So, but those organisms which have more tolerance level, they will survive. Is it clear? So, if none of the organisms of a species, suppose we have a species of fishes, none of them had a variation which is helping it to adopt or adapt, then the complete species will get extinct. Okay, here they have taken an example. If there's a change in the environment, that is rise in temperature, some bacteria may have tolerance to heat than others, then those bacteria will survive. So in that water, if there are some bacteria which has tolerance level, they will survive. But on the other case, if none of them in that complete population, if no bacteria had that tolerance level or that variation to adapt in that changed environment, that complete species will die and it will become extinct. You can also recall dinosaurs. Maybe some change was there in the environment, we don't know what it is. In that changed environment, none of the dinosaurs had a variation which was helping it to overcome that changed environment. So none of them has survived. So variation is also important for survival. Remember this. Why is variation beneficial to the species but not necessarily for an individual? So whatever change happened, it was not so advantageous for that organism. It was not advantageous for the bacteria if there was a gene which was helping it to tolerate higher temperature. But luckily what happened that during that time, that when there was a change in environment, those bacteria could survive, and because of that, that species could be it did not become extinct. That is why we tell the variations may be beneficial to the species but not necessary for an individual. Is it clear? Otherwise that species will get extinct. So these two questions are very important, and it is related to both the chapters reproduction and hereditary evolution, children. So when we learn that, you should always remember all these points I taught you today. Without the background of this, you cannot learn those two chapters. So you learn all the topics which I told you today very nicely, so that the lesson reproduction and hereditary evolution will be very clear to you. Okay? Thank you.